that place turned me into a monster. I was very angry. You know, just being in Abu Ghraib, you know, it changed your whole mind frame. You know, you can go from being a docile, you know, jolly guy, and you go to Abu Ghraib for a few, you know, just being in Iraq for a while, you know, you become, you know, a robot.
The Geneva Convention's question doesn't really come up until the war in Afghanistan starts and people start to come into the custody of our forces there.
Iraq continues to flaunt its hostility toward America and to support terror. The terrorist threat to America and the world will be diminished the moment that Saddam Hussein is disarmed.
I remember as we left Kuwait, I volunteered to be a gunner. It was a 12-hour ride, and I said, I'll gun. I'm new here. Just tell me what I'm looking for, and I'll gun all day on this whole convoy. And I said, but the only thing I need to know is the rules of engagement. And they all kind of look at me. I'm like, I need our rules of engagement. I've never been in a combat zone before. And they said, well, if it looks like the enemy, shoot it. I'm like, no, I'm serious now. If I need rules of engagement, what constitutes the enemy, whatever. We just told you, Sergeant. If it looks like the enemy, shoot it. And I looked at him, I said, you know, I've really never been outside the United States. Everything looks like the enemy to me out here.
Are we leaving yellow one? Just take it for us?
Units in Iraq are picking up people on hunches and suspicions. For instance, you'll get an intelligence report that someone driving a black Opel, which is a model of car over there, was involved in an IED attack. So they'll just round up people with black Opels and bring them in for interrogation. Any kind of hunch that these units had, they would act on it and arrest people. They just arrested everyone.
وباب تنفتح علينا باب البيت من ضربة قوية. وطلعنا نشوف شكلهم الأمريكان داخل البيت كلهم. بنات دخلوا علينا اطلعوا برا. طلعونا كليتنا برا. احنا الأطفال والنساء واحنا رجال. عزوا النساء والأطفال على صفحة واحنا رجال على صفحة. وهاي ب9 بالليل تقريبا. شلون جو بارد. فالأطفال قاموا يبكون من الخوف الرعب مال الدخول علينا وياهم تكرم كلاب إضافة إلى الأغراض اللي كسروها والأغراض اللي انباقت من البيت ذهب وفلوس.
It was a place inside the prison, like the death chamber that we called it, where it was 2 holes in the floor and the hanging hooks. You know, said they hung people every day. They'd hang like 80, 100 people a day or something like that.
I think the military intelligence personnel were caught pretty much by surprise at this number of prisoners being brought in that had to undergo an interview at least, or interrogations. Their assessment within the first couple of weeks was, you know, ma'am, most of them are just guilty of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. They don't have any information. Well, according to them at that time, it was about 75 to 80% of the people being brought in really didn't have any information of value or any information at all about terrorism.
On the couple of occasions, he writes, I entered interview rooms to find a detainee chained hand and foot in a fetal position on the floor, with no chair, food, or water. Most times they had urinated or defecated on themselves and had been left there for 18 to 24 hours or more.
And if you don't treat the prisoners like dogs, you have effectively lost control of the interrogation.
Same thing with the little children. I mean, we had like 9-year-olds in there. I'm like, why do I have a 9-year-old?
It probably sounds really sick, but I'm always taking photos. I mean, that's just me. I've always taken photos. Sergeant Frederick said, hey, get in the photo, or let's take a photo or something to that effect. And Grainer was behind me, and I just gave a thumbs up and smiled. I realized it was a pretty stupid thing to do right away, but it happened. We came to the prison, and we were told that a prisoner just died, and he died of a heart attack. And he was in the shower, and that was it. They weren't going to come pick him up right away because they didn't have any means, and that he was in a body bag. So, of course, Sergeant Frederick and me were like, okay, it's just a dead body, right? He died of a heart attack. So we went in, and I believe Corporal Grainer took a photo of me. It was just a dead guy. It was supposed to be just a dead guy. And we didn't realize until after these photos that he was bleeding in places that you wouldn't bleed from getting a heart attack.
These photographs from Abu Ghraib have come to define the United States. The U.S., which was viewed as certainly one of the principal advocates of human rights and the view of the dignity of human beings in the world, suddenly is viewed as a principal expositor of torture.
Now, yeah, maybe I have some regrets about what went on there. Even though it wasn't necessarily a comfortable thing to do,